I'm relaxing now because I finished my cheap garage makeover build. Did paint, shelves, wash tub, hose spigot, some other things. Let me show you what I did. Okay, so when we moved in here, the garage was your typical garage. It was just kind of messy, dingy, bare drywall with the drywall tape, etc. And poor lighting, just stuff everywhere. So, we moved in, we had to get rid of some stuff, but we still had a lot of stuff left over. We had to find some place to put it, etc. So the shelves were a big deal. Painting the walls were going to be a big deal, a high priority. The garage has no water in it. It has no spigot. It has no wash tub. I have to drag a hose 100 feet to wash my car. So I had to address all those things. And then there's the third garage stall. So I got a lot of tips from folks telling me what they think I should get as a hot rod, finally, after all these years. I did get something. All right, can you guess what it is? Put it in the comments. I'll reveal it at the end of the video. So let me start with the most important thing, the ceiling shelves. Now, we needed to get a lot of stuff off of the ground and get it stored away. These are things that I'm only going to touch maybe once, maybe twice a year at the very most. And I need to get them off the ground, up on the shelves. Now, they sell a lot of shelves in these different stores. I just didn't like them. They are too big. I don't like the way they mounted. And frankly, they're expensive. And I don't think they're very strong. I'm a little concerned about them for what I wanted to do. So I built my own, and I did it a lot cheaper. Okay. And by the way, I'm putting all of the links to all of the products and things that I used in this build in the comments. So go, not the comments, in the description line. So you can go ahead and just click on them and you can see what I use, right? So first off, the shelves. So what I did for the shelves is I just built simple frames on the ground out of 2x4s. Pretty easy to do. After I had the frames built, I put pieces of angle iron on the wall like that. I set them on the angle iron and fastened the angle iron with lag bolts. Once I had the shelves built, I threw them up there and then added screws into the studs on this wall. And on this wall, same kind of idea, only I added some lags because of the length of this shelf. You might notice that I did not use plywood for the shelving material. I looked around for something I really wanted to do, which was like wire shelving. So I was able to find these really cool pieces of wire shelving at Menards, pretty cheap, probably cheaper than the plywood. Now the advantages to this wire shelving is that it lets light through. It is lighter, so it's less weight on the shelves. And it doesn't allow dust to collect up there. And maybe the biggest thing is that rodents can't build nests up there. Anybody with a garage that has shelves know that rodents like to build nests up there. And then they destroy stuff and you don't know. Well, they'll just slip right through on this stuff. Now, the shelves are super strong, even just fastened to the wall, but obviously they're not going to be able to carry a ton of weight if they're just fastened to the wall, but they're pretty strong with just that. So I added these struts to keep them from sagging and to support a good deal of the weight. So on the end here, I have 2 struts. All right, so it took me a little bit to figure out how I wanted to mount those struts for the shelves. So I decided on these. These are basically pipe hangers. By themselves, I wouldn't trust them. So I used the pipe hanger and the threaded rod, okay, like this. Now, again, by itself, I'm not sure I would trust the threads on this hanger. I think they'd be okay. But what I did is I just kind of countersunk the drywall a little bit, in the ceiling. And then I added a washer and I added a nylon locking nut. It's a steel nut with a nylon locking thing on it. And when I secured that and then bolted this to the ceiling with some nice lag bolts, that ain't coming down. You're not going to pull the threads. This ain't going to break. I'm really confident this can carry a lot of weight. And then basically at 6-foot intervals, 72 inches, keep that in mind, I've added the other struts to carry the weight. And it carries it very, very well. The reason I mentioned 72 inches because you want to keep them at 18-inch multiples because the tubs are 18 inches wide. So if you can put the struts up there at 72 or 36 or 54 like I have here, then you'll be able to maximize the space when you start putting tubs up there. You won't have struts in the way. Now, I decided to use these struts because I did not want to use 2x4s, you know, bolted to the ceiling and coming down, blocking off storage space, and they just looked ugly. So I wanted to clean it up a little bit, make it look real nice, and I think hopefully you'll agree. Actually looks pretty good. You'll notice what I did on the corner here is that I put a piece of angle iron that sticks out about 1 inch so I could mount the strut there instead of trying to drill it through where all those screws are going through in the corner. And then I added this piece here for real thin storage items and frankly, specifically for the screens. So when I get the screens out in the off season, then I can just slide them up there. They're not getting thrown around the garage and busted up. Okay, so paint, very important because this garage had the bare drywall with the bare tape and stuff like that. It looked awful. It was dingy, the lighting was terrible. So I knew I needed to paint it. Now I had a choice to make because I could have the drywall finished. I can't do that, so I'd have to bring somebody in, probably $1,000, maybe $2,000, or I could just paint it like it is. Okay, and so I did that. I bought 2 5-gallon pails of white paint primer. So this is what I use to do the painting. I bought this at Menards. It was like $69 or something. This thing's pretty handy. It really helps. You don't have to keep bending over and, you know, picking up paint out of the roller tray and stuff like that. And then this is the paint that I got. It was like $90 at Menards and then $50 rebate. So it cost me like $45, $50 for this paint. It's paint and primer, and put it over the bare drywall, and it's gonna really work well. Although I did go through a lot of it because that drywall really absorbs it, even though it is primer. It went through a lot of paint on the first coat. The second coat didn't take up much paint at all. It covered really, really well. So I painted the whole garage, and it looks great. I'm very happy with it. I don't need to fix the drywall. Matter of fact, I think it gives it a little bit of character. You can still see the stripes in the wall, a little bit of imperfection, and I think it looks really, really good. I'm very happy with it. But the little bit of the ceiling that I did while I was doing the walls, I could tell it was going to be brutal. So I put it off for a little while, and I ended up buying this large roller. And I got to tell you, what a difference. I think it's because it's supported on both sides like that. And of course it's wider, it's lighter, just more stable. I was able to knock out the ceiling in one day. Quite frankly, it was 2 coats and it worked really well. So I would definitely tell you to get one of these things if you're gonna do this thing. Next, I did the door trim. So the doors didn't have any trim on it. And you don't notice it at first, but it looks kind of shoddy. So I just picked up some 1x4 pieces of lumber and I trimmed out the doors, both this one and actually the entry door too. Used some cabinet paint on them. It looks really, really good. To finish off the paint, I added a small bead of silicone at the bottom of the drywall and rubber base molding, and it did a nice job of finishing the paint job. So this garage had no water in it, no hose spigot, no wash tub, no anything. If I wanted to wash my car, I had to drag a hose from the side of the house. I had to get it 100 feet just to get it to the driveway to wash my cars. And I had no way to wash scrub down the garage floor. I'd like to do that a couple times a year with some pine salt to freshen it up. No way to do that. Well, so I had to add that. It was a must. So I got this from Menards. It cost me less than $200 for the whole thing. Cabinet, fixture, wash tub, everything. And I'll show you what I had to do. I had to work with PEX for the first time. I'll show you how I did that too. And I added a hose spigot as well. And check this out too, because I've got a couple grandsons and they couldn't quite get up there, so I made this for them. They can hop right up there. Works like a charm. When they're done. Now, fortunately for me, right behind that wall is the laundry room. And double fortunate is that there are the hot and cold water lines right behind that wall. Now they're PEX, and this whole house is filled with PEX, so I had to learn how to use some PEX. So it's my first venture. This is what the finished product looks like down here. I had to plumb in the drain and also the hot and cold water hoses. Okay, so this house, all the plumbing in this house is PEX. So by that laundry room, the hot and cold water lines were running down right in a spot. That's why I had to put the wash tub where I did, because that's where the lines were and that's where the sewer line was. So, but I had to use PEX. I never used PEX before, but I got to tell you something, it's pretty easy. So let me show you. So blue for cold, red for hot, okay? And then you get these fittings. In this case, I just got the Crimp fittings. There's all sorts of tools you can buy, electronic tools. I'm not gonna do this very often. So I just bought some simple stuff. A crimper, like this. And I didn't really need this, but I thought it'd be great to make sure that the cut is completely square. So I got these cutters too. These things are something. So anyway, to cut it, you would just come in here, just like that, right? And then to make the connection, you would just put on one of the clamps like this, and they say leave about that much, and then slide it over the fitting like that. Then you just take your crimper, boom, just like that. And actually, I kind of goofed up. That little gap shouldn't be there, but you get it. So let's do it again. See this little gap right here? That shouldn't be there. It should be butted all the way up against the fitting like that, okay? But this is a T fitting. This is how I teed into the water lines. So
just put a clamp on like this, and leave a little bit, make it like an 1/8 inch. Then you just butt it up against the end like that. Then you take your crimping tool right here. Make sure it stays apart. Notice that it will not release until you get it all the way.
So that's a proper crimp. Now that's not coming off of there. Super secure, just like that. So you got red for hot, you got blue for cold, and that's how easy it is to crimp a piece of PEX to a T. So behind the wall there, what I did is I just cut into in this case, the hot water line, put the T in there, and then connected the wash tub to that. And this is where I put the hose spigot. So when you buy one of these, what happens is when you turn the valve out here, it actually closes the valve about 12 inches in, and then it's designed in such a way that's tilted so that, or slanted or tilted. But when you turn off the valve and it shuts up that valve 12 inches in, it allows the water to drain out so there's nothing trapped in there, right? So it makes it where it won't freeze in the wintertime, right? You're not gonna have any water there and freeze and break the plumbing. I had to hook it up to the PEX, just like I showed you in the demonstration. I just ran some blue PEX over, teed it into the blue line, and I was good to go. Then I added the hose reel, and now I can actually wash my car, wash my garage floor, all that stuff. Okay, so that's my video. Nice, cheap garage makeover video. Hopefully you got something out of it. Now I added some other things. I threw some hooks up on the wall for ladders and some chairs and some other tools, some yard tools and things like that. But pretty happy with it overall. Oh, last thing. Did you put in the comments what you thought I got for a hot rod? What did you think I got? What'd you get? Okay, so if you guessed 2012 Hemi Challenger, you were right. Love that car, very excited about it. I love my garage, I love my new hot rod. Gotta get back to the game. Thanks for tuning in. Like and subscribe, please. Thank you. And lots of room for activities.